Hello everyone and welcome to Majestically Explanation. Today we are going to start our second module, which is supply and elasticity of supply, in which we are going to see law of supply, elasticity of supply and its practical application, market equilibrium, production, factor of production, production factor. Now what we are going to discuss in this particular video, we are going to see law of supply, elasticity of supply in its practical application, and some examples of market equilibrium. Now coming to the law of supply, what do you mean by law of supply and what is the law of supply? The law of supply is the microeconomic law that states that all other factors being equal, as the price of a good or service increases, the quantity of good or services that supplier offer will increase, and vice versa. The law of supply says that as the price of an item goes up, supplier will attempt to maximum their profit by increasing the quantity offered by for sale. You can relate this thing. Now understanding law of supply, the chart below describes the law of supply using the supply curve, which is upward sloping A, B and C are point on the supply curve. Each point on the curve reflect a direct correlation between quantity supplied Q and price P. So at point A, the quantity supplied will be Q1 and the price will be P1 and so on. The supply curve is upward sloping because over time supplier can choose how much of their good to produce and later bring to the market at any given point in the time. However, the supply of the seller bring to market is a fixed, and seller simply face a decision to either sell or without hold their stock from a sale. Consumer demand set the price and seller can only charge what the market will bear. The law of supply is one of the if consumer demand rises over time, the price will rises and supplier can choose to devote new resources to production or new supplier can enter the market. Now, coming to the example of law of supply, the law of supply summarizes the effect price changes have on production behavior. For example, a business will make more video game system if price of those system increases. The opposite is true. If the price of video game system decreases, the company might supply 1 million system. If the price is 200 each, but if the price increases to 300, they might supply 1.5 million. To further illustrate this concept, consider how gas prices work. When the price of gasoline rises, it encourages profit-seeking firms to take several actions: expand exploration of oil reserves, drill for more oil, invest in more pipeline and oil tankers to bring the oil to plants where it can be refined to gasoline, build new oil refineries, purchase additional pipeline and truck to ship gasoline to gas stations, like this. Now the law of supply is so illustrative that you may not even be aware of all the examples around you. For example, when college students learn that computer engineering job pay more than English professor's job, the supply of a student with major in computer engineering will increase. You can easily relate with this. When consumers start paying more for cupcakes than for donuts, bakers will increase their output of cupcake and reduce their output of donut in order to increase their profit. When your employers pays time and half overtime, the number of hours you are willing to supply for effectiveness. What is the best example of the law of supply? The best example should be the law of supply summarizes the effect price changes have on a producer's behavior. For example, a business will make more of a good such as TV or cars if the price of that particular product increases. These are some of the examples. Now, coming to elasticity of supply and its practical application, the law of supply states that there is direct relationship between quantity supplied and the price of a commodity. To point out this is a very quantitative statement. However, market for different commodities differ in way we can't even imagine. Interestingly, the concept of elasticity of supply handles all the with very ease. Basically, the practical application is nothing but elasticity of supply. The elasticity of supply establishes a quantitative relationship between the supply of commodity and its price. Hence, we can express the numeral changes in supply with the change in the price of commodity using the concept of elasticity, which we have discussed in our last video. Note that elasticity can be calculated with respect to the other determinants of supply. This particular topic is correlated with different topic which I have taught you in our last video. However, the major factor controlling the supply of commodity is its price. Therefore, we generally talk about the price elasticity of supply. The price elasticity of supply is the ratio of the percentage change in the price to the percentage change in the quantitative supply of a commodity. Delta Q, where delta Q, the change in quantity supplied, Q, delta P and P. And this is the particular formula for calculating this, where Q, the quantity supplied, delta P, the change in price, and P is the price. Now coming to the elasticity from a supply curve. Along with the method mentioned above, there are two more ways to calculate the price elasticity of supply, both of which make uses of the supply curve. We can either calculate the elasticity at a specific point on the supply curve known as point elasticity, or between two prices known as arc elasticity. These are the two examples of calculating the supply curve. Now the formula for calculating the point elasticity of supply is ES is equal to dq by dp, which is and multiplication with P and Q, which I have told in our previous slide. Here delta Q and delta P is the slope of the supply curve. Now the formula for calculating the arc elasticity of supply is nothing but we just modified that particular formula and we just replace 100 by this function. Now types of elasticity of supply, as you can see, perfectly elastic supply, relatively less elastic supply, relative greater elastic supply, unitary elastic, perfectly elastic supply. These are some of the types of elastic of supply. In the graph it is mentioned the perfectly elastic, unitary elastic and perfectly elastic. You can see there and you can understand which slope is for which. Now coming to the market equilibrium. Definition of market equilibrium should be: market equilibrium is a market state where the supply in the market is equal to the demand in the market. The equilibrium price is the price of a good or service when the supply of it is equal to the demand for it in the market. If a market is at equilibrium, the price will not change unless an external factor changes the supply or demand, which results in disruption of the equilibrium. Now supply, demand and equilibrium, coming from all this topping and making it one. If a market is not at equilibrium, market focus tend to move it on equilibrium. Let's break this concept down. If the market price is above the equilibrium value, there is an excess supply in the market, which means there is more supply than demand. In this situation, seller will tend to reduce the price of their good or service to clear the inventories. You can understand. The probably will also slow down their production or stop ordering new inventory. The lower price entities more people to buy, which will reduce the supply further. The process will result in demand increasing, the supply decreasing until the market price equal the equilibrium price. If the market price is below the equilibrium value, then there is excess in demand, supply shortage. In this case, buyer will bid up for the price of the good or service in order to obtain a good relationship. Now supply, demand and equilibrium in this topic. As the price goes up, some buyer will quit trying because they don't want to or can't pay the higher price. Additionally, seller more than happy to see the demand will start to supply more of it. Eventually the upward pressure of price and supply will stabilize at market equilibrium. In this graph you can understand the relation between quantity and price. What we have learned today, we have seen law of supply, elasticity of supply and its practical application, and market equilibrium. In our next video, we are going to cover remaining topic: production, factor of production and production function, which is one variable, two variable and all variables. We will see this in our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.